We'll call the meeting of the Parks and Community Services Committee meeting of Thursday, May 26th to order. And today our main focus, our only focus is on the community grant application interviews. We have a combination of people in person and on Zoom, and all of our committee members are here. So good morning to the committee members. And just so that everyone knows, the version of Zoom that we're using today allows you to unmute yourself. And so if you have questions, go ahead and make sure that you unmute before you talk, so we don't spend half the meeting saying, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then if you're not speaking, just to avoid background noise, it would be nice if everyone stayed muted until it was your turn. Okay. So again, the focus of the meeting is the community grants. We have all looked at the applications. We had some specific questions for some of our applicants, and those questions were sent to the applicants. It's a 10-minute process, and 10 minutes can go kind of quickly. So what we don't want is the people to just tell us everything that's on their application. I'm going to give them a couple of minutes to do a brief overview of their nonprofit. And then if we have specific questions, we will ask those questions. Those applicants that received questions that needed to be answered right after they give their overview, we will ask them to answer those questions, and then we'll proceed. So do the committee members have any questions on the process?
I don't.
Okay, and we're scheduled to have our first person at 9:10, and that person is not here, but we do have the Cannabis Chorus here.
We do.
And so I think we'll go ahead, if everybody's okay with that, and have them do their presentation, and then we can be a little bit ahead of the game. Okay, so John, ahead of the game. First, we'll have a little song from the Cannabis Chorus. Yeah.
Should we do this from here?
Yes.
Perfect.
In the light.
Okay.
I'm John Beeler, and I'm not on the board of the Cannabis Chorus because I'm the director.
Okay.
Tina Seaborg is the president of the board, and she is the person who put together the grant application. We've done this before.
So,
But I haven't.
okay, so I'll have to.
But we haven't done how we got to this stage ever before. I was looking at our grant application, and Tina and I had sort of worked on it together. And it just didn't dawn on me until I saw, as I've looked through this, it's been since December of 2019 since the chorus sang in public. In the 30-some years of its existence, that's never happened before. And this is 2022.
Right.
And so we've been through some times recently that are challenging, and we're learning to feel our way back toward what normal used to be. I would say we're very, very grateful for the support from this committee, but we're even more grateful for the connection with our village that this represents. We went through a time when we thought it might not be appropriate for the chorus to ask for financial support from the community. Seeing some of the other grant awards to the other groups, and the chorus is a somewhat different group than many of them. It's a group that's made up of folks from Tillamook to Long Beach, and every place in between. We've had members as far as Forest Grove and Beaverton. So it's a multitude of communities, but it's always been the Cannon Beach Chorus, and it's always been here. To be a part of our community is very important to that chorus, no matter whether those folks come from Tillamook or Long Beach or wherever. So we're really grateful for the support, and thank you very much. Are there any specific questions that I might answer?
Anybody have any questions? Specific? So I've got a no from Betty, no from Anita. Les?
Yes, I'd like to chime in. This is Les. John, thank you for coming to talk to us. You are planning some concerts for this year or this coming season, is that correct?
We are, if you mean by this coming season, the one that will begin on Labor Day.
Yes.
We are going to sing, given the state of health safety. We expect to do normal concerts early in December of 2022. We finished our season, our current season, this is Thursday, on Monday evening. And we finished it with a rehearsal in the church sanctuary down here. But and there were a few invited special friends of the members of the chorus, so that we didn't expand the bubble. As singing is one of those really dangerous activities for this kind of virus, we had to be really cautious about how that worked. And so we didn't do a performance, we did an informance, which was a regular rehearsal with a little bit of extra added information about each of the pieces. And we had 10 guests come to be, I guess, witnesses to this informance. But our next concerts are going to be scheduled early in December of 2022, following our season beginning on Labor Day.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Stacy, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for your comments. I really appreciated what you said about the village and connection to this town.
That's one of those things that we feel and we sense, and that's what choirs are about. And we're very grateful for your support. Thanks.
We enjoyed the music that we were able to purchase with our previous grant. John made sure that it was comfort and joy, which was our theme. And it filled that spot for all of us.
Okay, so are there any other questions or comments from the committee? Thank you very much for coming, and
You're welcome.
Good luck with the next season.
Thanks.
Thank you for the
Good
opportunity.
to see you, Tina.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
It's good to be seen.
And Lila, we went ahead and got them first, just because it didn't take me 10 minutes to go through my introductions. So if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, so next we have Lila Wickham, who's representing Cannon Beach Arts Association. And we're going to give her a second to get ready, and then we'll begin.
I made copies because they will allow you to make color. So I would start by saying that during the pandemic, there were lots of opportunities for grants that supported nonprofits to keep them afloat. And now it's scaled back to just, the usual suspects. So I think that we overestimated the amount of grant funding that we could get for this fiscal year, because we were kind of looking at the prior 2 years. So that's just a little intro to the state of the situation. So the community grant this year, what we're looking at is our request is for summer art camp for this year. We have gotten resource funding for summer art camp for the last 3 years, but you can only get it for 3 years and then you have to take a break. And we have 60 plus children signed up for summer art camp. And we're really excited about that because we did it virtually the last 2 years and it just is not the same, as you know. So the cost for summer art camp are in here. And then the second thing is we've always worked with Seaside High School on Art Day, and Art Day happens in April. But this year we expanded it, and Summer Peterson, who's our marketing person and our outreach person, did a art day at Seaside High School, at the middle school, at Fire Mountain School, and at the Cannon Beach School. And I gave you a little summary of of how that went. And she did a great job surveying the students, and it was a really fun experience. One of our teachers did get COVID though. So that was, welcome to Art Day, welcome to COVID.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we expanded it to those 4 venues, and it was really, really fun, and the kids enjoyed it a lot. And then the last thing that we're asking for is last year we did 2 books through the Arts Association. One was an illustrated Fisher Poet book, and the other is a dog portrait book, which I gave each of you to look at. And they actually did really well. The Fisher Poet book goes to the Fisher Poet Gathering, and the art day and the portrait book, goes to the Disaster Animal Response Team. So all of the, when people buy it, we just pass the money through, which has been a really fun project. Anyway, we sold 40 dog portrait books, and they cost $30 to print, because to do it well, hard copy and all that. So we're asking for funding to reprint the dog portrait books. So that's our story.
Okay, so we had specific questions for you, and so I'm asking the committee, did those questions get answered in Lila's presentation?
Not for me.
Okay, so do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Okay, my question to you is, would you explain to the group how funding for the dog book helps further your situation and your ongoing programs?
So the dog portrait book was a new concept that's community driven, because all the dogs in the book are either come to Cannon Beach regularly or live in Cannon Beach. And each of the dog parents wrote a biography of their dogs. And so it's just a way of increasing community spirit, is what I would say.
it seems like to me that, I don't know, it feels like mission drift to me. And if you're asking for money to fund it and all that money is going away from your organization, I just have questions about that.
Well, the concept is, the concept is to pass through money to other organizations in our community that have a meaningful contribution. So for the dog portrait book, now I have to say in full disclosure that I coordinate the Medical Reserve Corps team. And the Medical Reserve Corps team is a companion team to the Disaster Animal Response team. And it's all about emergency preparedness, and it's about having our community be ready to deal with disasters. So this is a way of promoting that community benefit, but not necessarily benefiting the Cannon Beach Arts Association, because we are an organization that aspires to promote community art, but also to be part of the community and contributing to it. You know, it's just like we give scholarships to artists, we give art awards. It's all about giving back to the community from my perspective.
Any follow-up questions, Betty?
No.
Okay. Other questions?
This is Les. I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you, Lila, for coming in and talking to us. I've been interested this year in looking a little deeper into what I think of as the health or the strength of each of the organizations, because I know it's been a very difficult couple of years for everyone. And so I've tried to understand the financial spot each one is in, and the Arts Association is interesting to me. And let me just lay out what I think, and don't try to make it into something negative, because I don't mean it to be that way. I'm just trying to understand. Your association is one of the few that reported the profit and loss from the last few years and reported a profit each of those 2 years, and then you project a profit for this year coming as well. I'm curious how to try to understand that. I think through reading through the notes and all the material you provided, a lot of that, particularly last year, came from being able to quickly minimize expenses when things didn't work out that you had planned to do. But at the same time, that's a fair amount of positive net income reported. And I'm curious how you would like me to understand that, because if nothing else, it seems like it could have been rolled into this year's program, but I don't think it did. Did that all get put back into some kind of a operating reserve that the association maintains to be able to stay operating?
Let's see. So what I learned from the pandemic, and I'm the treasurer of the Arts Association now, but I used to be the president. And when we had our prior director, who quit in the middle of the music festival, we discovered that we had a $5,000 Visa credit card bill. We had zero in the bank. And it was a very, very dire situation. So my perspective is to plan for the future. So it's not actually a fund for future events. It's more to assure that we can maintain our employees.
Mhm.
People in this community, especially young people, don't have very many opportunities. And one of the things that's really important to me and our board is to make sure that they feel like they have a job today and tomorrow. And the only way to do that is to be really careful with your finances, because you never know when another pandemic's going to happen. You never know when there's going to be the bubble bursts on housing or whatever is going to happen. And so if you spend down, you're not going to have anything when things don't go well. So I don't know if that answers your question. It's a philosophy.
Well, Lila, thank you. Actually, that is the kind of answer I was anticipating for sure. I think each of the organizations that we're going to talk to today probably is in the same boat and needs to have some money to cover the short-term shortfalls, things that happen. And I suspect that every one of them is going to tell us that they had to dip into it. I'm sorry for the problems that your association had, but I did want to bring that up and learn a little bit more. So you would say at this point going forward, the association has got I don't know, is in a better place, has a better plan to be able to withstand whatever the future holds for us?
Well, exactly. And like if you take the example of Art Day, historically, Art Day was at Seaside High School with a small group of students. And our mission and our goal is to expand our ability to touch more lives. So by reaching out to Fire Mountain School and the city of Cannon Beach and the middle school, that's what we use our resources for, is to be more, expand our inclusion. But, it costs more money.
Sure, I understand. And I think that those kinds of things are clearly within the scope and the goals of the Art Association. I appreciate you and everybody that's a part of it. Thank you very much.
The only other thing I'd add is after our experience a couple of years ago, the board has become a lot more involved and in the association. So instead of the staff taking care of the finances and writing the grants, we all do that. And we do that because basically you have more control, and it's worked out well for us. Our income streams are our memberships, our sponsors, our donations, grants, and sales. So it's like a three-legged stool, and we try to make each leg work.
So Les, are you finished?
I am. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks. Stacy?
So thank you for being here today, Lila. And I did want in particular, thank you for the art camp, the summer art camp. My granddaughters have participated many years and they love it. So thank you very much.
Anita, did you have some questions?
Hi, yes. I was just curious about what the art camp director support function is.
So art camp it's a big undertaking. And the art camp support requires all of the the engagement, communication to all past members, meeting with KMUN and talking about it. So all the marketing things that go along with art camp. And then the week of art camp, There are multiple teachers, and it happens that, well, now that it's virtual, it happens at the community church. And so the art camp director has to hire all the teachers, put together the materials for the teachers, get contracts with them, do background checks, figure out what the teachers want for supplies for art camp, purchase the supplies, have them all ready, and then be there present for the entire camp. And then it's funny because you have to take pictures at the community church of what it looked like before you came. And then after art camp and all those children, put everything back exactly where it came from and clean the church. And, it's a big deal, actually.
Okay, thank you.
So are there any other questions from the committee? Okay, thank you, Lila.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. I know it can be stressful. I'll leave these with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Okay, next we have the Cannabis History Center and Museum, and we have Andrea and Liz.
Hi.
I know Liz, so I'm just assuming you're Andrea.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So our format today is for you to give us just a brief insight into what your nonprofit does, what your primary goals are. And then the committee members, we have 2 in person, and then we have Betty and Anita and Les on Zoom. And
Hello. Good morning.
and if you guys are ready,
Yeah.
take it away.
So our primary goals and our mission statement and everything that we do at the museum is we are the home of the history, right? The artifacts, everything that has been found or unearthed, and everything specifically about Cannon Beach from here to Arch Cape. I would say that we try to make history as accessible to the public as possible. That is like our number one mission statement as a museum and private nonprofit. It's to make it all accessible to the community and, everybody who comes into our community to visit. What else would you add?
That's pretty much
Sorry,
it,
this is
yeah.
our first time ever doing this, so I appreciate your
I was gone
kindness.
for 2.5 years, so this is
And I'm so relieved she's back, so.
back. So I'm just getting back into the
Yeah.
swing of things,
Yeah.
kind of catching my bearings. But yeah, basically the museum is, we're all about preserving history and bringing history to life. That's pretty much like the museum slogan is where history comes to life. And that's very important to us. Like Andrea said, making sure that it's accessible to all, whether it be online, in person. That's very important to us. Make sure that we do that for everybody.
So you're now open again to the public?
Yes,
Yeah.
we reopened finally in March of this year, fully to the public. And then Liz joined us again maybe about a week ago, which is really awesome. And I feel like it's perfect timing because we're taking off with Cottage Tour, which is also coming back in person this year. And of course, that's our biggest fundraiser for the museum. And so we're really excited to just have a team again and be open again fully and just keep moving forward.
Okay. Is there specific questions from any of the committee members? Nita, no, Les?
I'll start.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Liz, what's your last name?
It was Johnson, but I just got married about a month ago. So my last name's Scott now. Hi, Susan.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Absolutely. This is a continued request for support to digitize and make available, all of the assets that the museum has. And I'm excited about that. I really have, I can't wait to see it. And I really like the way that you described your aspiration where you said, however, we are tenacious and feel that this project culminate at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. I think that's going to be really exciting. Do you still feel like that is a reasonable time frame?
We do, because once we got over the hurdle of getting our bearings and realizing what grants were being asked for what projects, because I wasn't privy to that knowledge with our previous director. So once I got to the place where I could see like what our projects are doing and what we're doing, then we realized that the only thing that we were missing in our previous ask for the same project, doing the past perfect archival update and everything, was hardware. We don't have a friendly computer that would actually allow us to update the system and then put it onto the cloud and then make it available for everyone. So we kind of hit that roadblock. And so now that we know that like we needed that computer, we're moving forward. I've done everything that I can do over the phone with the old computer and the past perfect archival people, their company. And now we're just at the place where we need the computer, and then we like launch this. So I think end of 2022, early 2023 is definitely, even with cottage tour going on, like we will be able to hit those deadlines, because now we know that we just needed the hardware. And we had to do a lot of organization of the archives. Many things were repeated, many things were mislabeled. It's very important the way you label things in museum archives. And I got a crash course lesson on that. And I'm really thankful for the free class that I got to take on that. But again, it came down to the hardware. And that was something that was just they overlooked it.
Well, thank you. That answers my question. And I appreciate you both coming in to talk to us.
Definitely.
Betty or Anita, do you have any questions or comments? No? Stacy? Okay. You guys have any other things you would like to say? So welcome back, Liz.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be back.
We appreciate the help and you guys meeting with us. Yes, thank you so much.
Timing was perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Had to get the museum back and running and in a good spot moving forward. So
Awesome.
yeah, happy to make a great team. So yeah, Andrea's awesome.
Good. Okay.
That was easy.
Thank you. Yeah, that was easy. Thank you. So painless.
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Could I ask what your organization? Okay. What are you? Yep, you're next. Come on up. Today.
I'm good. How are you all doing?
Yeah. As you're probably aware, this is difficult to have.
Absolutely. I appreciated being able to come in person. I don't think I've got to be here in person. It seems like almost 3 years. I appreciate the dual ability to attend.
What is your name?
My name's Nikisha Womble, and I'm the director of the Clatsop CASA program.
Okay. So the format is that we have you give us an overview of what your organization does, a little just very brief about what your grant request is, and then as you've observed, we'll ask questions or make comments.
Okay, great. All right, so the Clatsop CASA program, our primary mission is we advocate and serve children who are in foster care due to no fault of their own. These children can be involved with DHS or not, as the pandemic has changed some of the clientele in which we take in order to make sure all children have equitable access to mandated reporters and to people advocating for their best interests. We have several pieces within our mission, but I think our greatest piece is that we pay attention to the timeline and we get to know the children individually, not as a case number, but in a one-on-one support manner. And we advocate for them to get a safe and permanent home as quickly as possible due to state timelines and statutes. most of these cases have no choice but to last at least 15 months, sometimes going on to 36 months. So the cost is kind of there reminding everyone, hey, we've tried this. Let's not try this again. We have children who are being impacted by this time that they are in care. As evidence shows, the longer a child remains in care, the greater the trauma and the longer and harder the long-term outcomes can be for those children. So we, in Adjust, that's what we do. We also advocate in multiple settings. So in court, in classrooms, with therapists, we do fun things. We have now became kind of teachers throughout the pandemic. So many kids went to virtual learning. Families just really didn't know how to navigate that. So we have many retired CASAs who have past educational experience. So we tutor, we read, we do physical activities. I'm very proud to say throughout the pandemic, I did not allow us to reduce any services because every mandated reporter in the state was unable to go into homes or to put these children face-to-face in any sort of capacity. So we started off with sidewalk birthday parties and looking through the window, not to sound creepy, but we didn't really have much of a choice. And then quickly, as families became comfortable with us, we provided, PPP, those types of things. We were allowed to start to go into the homes again. And so we were truly the only eyes on children for the largest part of the pandemic. And in some ways, due to staffing shortages across the entire state, specifically within Clatsop County and DHS, we still, in a large part, are the only service provider who are trying to go into homes and making sure that we get those face-to-face contacts. Unfortunately, I think many organizations have become so comfortable with Zoom and with virtual that, in my opinion, we all need to do better for our children. I went on a little bit of a tirade there, but I just feel really passionate about what we do. And I also was in the system. I was sexually trafficked by my parents. I was returned home many times. So I know what it's like when people say to shelter at home and your home not to be that safe place, but for you to have to be sheltered with your abuser. And for many of our children, that was their reality for 20 months. So.
You don't need to apologize for your tirade.
Okay.
Okay, do we have specific questions? No, Betty, no, Anita, Les?
Well, I'm going to try to say something, if nothing else. Thank you to everybody. So you can count on me. And thank you, Nikisha, for coming in to visit. I'd have to say I know a little bit more about your organization than some because my wife and I have been engaged and tried to be supportive in the past. I was looking at your financials from last year, and it showed a negative. You spent more than you brought in last year. I don't think that makes you unique at all, and I can understand how you did it if you fulfilled all of your needs as the way you've described to us. Congratulations. Does that weaken your organization to a point of concern, or were you able to cover that and we can just view the coming year as another busy year?
That's a great question. The impact of the negative amount was solely due to our inability to fundraise in person. And like many small organizations, I was not prepared to just go straight into fundraising in an online platform of any sort. So we were able to make up for a substantial amount of our loss through additional grants. I'm happy to say we barely tapped into our reserves. So we do still have reserves that are set aside should we see another kind of emergency crisis. And the funding that we were unable to receive, so many organizations qualified for payroll protection and some of those additional supports. Because we are state mandated and receive a portion of federal funding, we were not allowed to apply for any of those loans. So so that was the main cause for us reaching into those reserves. So far, it seems like the state, we have pled a really strong case to the state to increase our annual amount from 11% to 14%, with the possibility of being able to backfill some of the loss through revenues with additional federal funding. So I sit here tentatively, but confidently in the place to say we will build that back. We may still see a small negative number this year because in addition to fulfilling our normal duties, we also started a pajama pantry. We started a small food closet, and then we also started a book program because as I mentioned, many children wasn't having access to those types of things. And in some ways, those items helped us be able to continue to go into homes, as well as to close a gap of parents just not being able to provide some of those basic things that they would normally provide. We are rebuilding, we are in a strong position, and I do not have any large concerns about the future. Did that answer the question?
Oh, very well, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have, just thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
And how are your training programs going?
Well, I have to say, I tried to use COVID-19 kind of as a vehicle in the crisis for not everything to be all terrible. So we actually now offer in-person and virtual trainings, and we will continue to do so throughout, kind of just seeing how things look in the future. I have great hopes for our fall class to be in person, but the reality is, having the multiple platforms, we've been able to diversify our CASA volunteers to younger groups, to working groups. Historically, we've kind of primarily had volunteers who were from the retiree committee, and not all children can connect with that community. So we've kind of put more of a cultural perspective on how can we better pair volunteers as we do. We don't just assign a volunteer. We really look at the case and the child and try to make a good pairing for them. So throughout the pandemic, we would typically swear in anywhere from 12 to 15 volunteers. Through the pandemic, we still swore in 12. So to be able to do that one-on-one platform, instead of having two large groups, we're kind of continuously training. So between me and my program manager, anytime we have anyone of interest that does not want to do a large group format, we do a small format. So our numbers did not see a reduction despite many people stepping away. We still stayed strong at 40 volunteers. Out of the 20 CASA programs in the state, we're the only program that did not see a reduction of 50%. And I'm very thankful for that. If our volunteers wasn't that selfless, I truly don't know what some of the outcomes would have been in our cases. So we're training more often, shorter sessions, and keeping our numbers about the same. So it'll be interesting to see as we kind of move forward. I hope to continue to offer a minimum of 4 trainings, whereas pre-COVID, we were only offering 2. So in some regards, we were able to strengthen our training kind of through, just having to shift so quickly in so many different arenas.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. We train court, we train dependency, child trauma, neglect, substance abuse. Our training's 40 hours. So we really ask a lot of our volunteers. And so I'm just appreciative that we've been able to find flexibility in the way we deliver that, as well as flexibility like within our community of those that are interested to serve. So.
Great. Any further questions or comments? Do you have any questions of us?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate you guys. I know it's no easier on anyone else in the, throughout all the changes that our small communities have went through. So no, just thank you guys for the opportunity. I know all budgets are very hard and decisions are tough. There's a lot of really great needs in our community. So no questions.
Thank you for.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Thank you guys.
So next we have class of community action, but I don't.
I'm here.
Oh, Susan, are you? Okay.
That's me. Thank you so much.
Okay.
My name is Susan Prettyman. I'm the social services manager at CCA. And I do apologize. Viviana Matthews, our executive director, had a family emergency and was unable to come today. But I'll do my best to answer questions about CCA and a little bit about our grant and what we do. So we are a nonprofit that serves all of Clatsop County with a focus on low-income residents in poverty, and also unsheltered individuals. Our mission is genuinely to help people with housing, food, and other basic needs, and to alleviate the suffering of poverty. We do that by offering a variety of different programs that can serve lots of different people. So in our social services department, we do like a one-time rent assistance and deposit assistance for people that are experiencing either housing insecurity or homelessness. We have energy assistance programs. Right now, we have about 7 different programs that can assist clients all over Clatsop County. We house the Clatsop County Veteran Services Officer. So we do lots of services with benefits for veterans. We offer information and referral, regular services for the unsheltered. We have community resource specialists that are housed in various agencies throughout Clatsop County so they can offer services. We have our homeless liaison program as well that serves all of Clatsop County, and our personal care pantry. On a whole, last year, we assisted Clatsop County with about $3 million worth of assistance. It kept a lot of people safe and secure in their housing while COVID was running rampant over Clatsop County. Our grant is really focused on our regional food bank. That's another huge part of what CCA does. Last year, our regional food bank assisted with about 1.5 million pounds of food for Clatsop County residents. Cannon Beach in itself was close to 2,500 residents that received assistance. And they see on a whole, as a duplicated number of how they count, about 25,000 people. So we've served as a whole about 35% of Clatsop County in any given year. Our grant is about the regional food bank. We want to continue offering services in the region or in Cannon Beach from the regional food bank, as well as our personal care pantry. Personal care is something that's really near and dear to our heart here at CCA, and it's something that it's really hard to find grant funding for. So we have people that come in and see us that need things that SNAP doesn't pay for. So things like shampoo, toilet paper, diapers, toothbrushes and toothpaste, items that for anybody, but especially for people who are unsheltered, are really important for their health and wellness, and also the wellness of our community. So we're asking for funding to continue offering that. We've seen a huge increase. We assist well over 1,000 people every single year in that, and funding for our regional food bank.
Okay, questions from committee members? Betty, no? Nita? No? Les, you're always good for a question or two.
Hi, Susan.
I hope you have something.
Well, hi, Susan. This is
Hi.
Thank you for speaking to us today. I was, you kind of helped me, I think, a little bit. I did have a question concerning exactly what the 15,000, what it was donated, or what it was. Okay, I'm kind of not coming up with a word. I'm sorry, but anyway, what were you going to do with the money? So I understand now that it's a pantry of non-food items, and then it also is partial in support of the food bank itself. Is that?
Yes.
Is that correct? Can you give me a feel for how much goes each way?
How much? What was that?
Can you give me a feel for, of the 15,000, how much was going to go to the food pantry?
It would be split.
Right.
Split in half.
But is it like 50-50 or?
Yeah, 50-50. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you. Hang on one second. I think I had one more question. And I apologize. I wanted to be there to listen to you in person, but surprise, surprise, I caught COVID over this past weekend. And so I'm stuck at home trying to make my best deal. Okay. No, I think that was really it. I just wanted to kind of understand a little bit better what the money was going to be used for. I think that takes care of me. Thank you, Barb, and thank you, Susan.
Yes, thank you.
Susan, how do you communicate with the citizens of the area that your services are available?
So do you mean specifically like for Cannon Beach, or just for any?
No, for the personal care help that you provide. I'm a volunteer with the food pantry, so I'm very familiar with how we interact with the regional food bank, but I'm wondering if you were a citizen that needed help with personal care products, how would they know that?
Yeah, so actually we do it in a lot of different ways, and it's really grown and expanded. And I think that that's a lot of why we're seeing such an increased interest in the personal care pantry. In the past, it has just been something that we offer and we put on on, a pamphlet that talks about CCA and pass out to people. But we've spent a lot of time doing, more extensive outreach and letting people know what we have available. And especially now that a lot of COVID restrictions have started to lift, we've been able to do more outreach, have times where we have boards up, we get to really just go, person to person and talk to them about what we do. And we've also done a lot of outreach through our veteran service officer. He's kind of out throughout Clatsop County, and he has a personal care pantry at the college. So he'll talk to veterans about it. We've expanded by making sure that our homeless liaisons have personal care items in their car. So when they drive out and about and they're working with people that are unsheltered, they can offer that service to them right in the moment versus having to have a barrier of bringing them somewhere for them to have to get that. So they spend a lot of time talking to people. We talk to a lot of different agencies and let people know what we have available. And we've also expanded to having our personal care pantry in Providence Seaside Hospital. So our community resource specialists talk about it there with the clients and also patients in the hospital.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments of Susan? You did a great job filling in.
Thank you. Make sure to let Viviana know, okay?
I will.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments?
Barb, this is Les again. I knew there was one more thing on my head and I just couldn't think of it. This was the packet that I didn't see the 501c3 document.
I can get it and send it to you.
Anyway, yeah, that would be fine with me. I just missed it when I was going through the packets, and it is a requirement.
We're a real nonprofit, I promise.
Oh, I know you are. Not questioning that.
Okay, so you'll make sure we get that, send it to us.
I will. I'll make sure you have it today.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, we're still working ahead of schedule, which is fine. I see that Mike Davis from Helping Hands is on Zoom. Is Alan Evans going to join you?
No, he's not. We have another meeting that he's going into.
Okay, are you ready or do you want to wait till your 10 o'clock time?
No, I'm good to go. This is perfect for me. Thank you.
Okay, so you've been on through the other presentation, so I don't think I need to go over the format with you, unless you have questions about what your interview is going to be like.
No, I'm good to go. I can just go ahead and start if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. My name's Mike Davis. I'm the Deputy Director for Helping Hands Reentry Outreach Centers. We have been operating homeless shelters for the past 20 years. We offer a low barrier shelter and an opportunity to go into a high barrier program that is person-centered, trauma-informed, and data-driven, that is designed to help people go into sustainable housing. Our individual reentry plans are based on where the person is at, and we look at their needs and their obstacles to becoming housed, and we help them overcome those things. We have a facility in Astoria, our Uniontown facility, which has about 60 beds, and we've got a women's shelter in Seaside that has about 12 beds there as well. Some highlights over the last year for us is that even during the pandemic, we've kept our doors open and we've served people that are experiencing homelessness. We celebrated our 20th anniversary last February. We opened the Bybee Lakes Hope Center fully in Multnomah County, bringing a total of 318 beds for that particular county. We're working on our Lincoln City facility, which will be open this summer, bringing another 69 beds to the Lincoln County area, and we'll be completing another 40 beds in the Tillamook Bay area. And actually today we're getting ready to announce a new county that we're exploring to go into and offer services to. And so come this summer, by the end of this summer, we'll have over 650 beds available. We'll be opening up another location in Seaside that will be a drop-in navigation center and emergency shelter. We're doing that in partnership with CCA, Sunset Empire Parks and Rec, and Sunset Empire Transportation. And so that's where we're at right now.
Great. Sounds like you're busy.
Just a little bit.
Okay, do we have questions of Mike from committee members? Nobody? Anita? Make sure you, There
Yeah,
you go.
I'm not really sure what to ask. You know, this is my first time as a Parks Committee member, so I'm pretty much just listening at this point, just because I'm not quite sure what question I should be asking. But I do thank Mike for his information.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for your continued support, by the way.
Les, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so Mike, thank you for coming and talking to us today. I appreciate it very much. You're an organization that I have some background familiarity with, as my wife and I have come up and actually visited at one point in the past, I think. But I was curious. I'm struggling here a little bit, getting all my records together, but the monies that you've requested, those generally just intended to be general operating funds, or how did the 15,000 come about? Do you have a feel for that?
Yeah, so it goes for our greatest need, and typically, that will go around case managers, facility directors, residential advisors, but we also have to run the buildings and provide power and sometimes a little bit of food. There could be a little cost for food. So typically we ask for general operations so we could use it where our greatest need is at, but it goes towards things like case managers to help people navigate their individual reentry plans, residential advisors, which are available 24/7 to people to help them with any questions that they might need or that they may have, and then a facility director to run the actual building itself.
Okay. The other thing I had was just a comment. I appreciated at one point you made you mentioned that you worked in concert with some of the other organizations in the area that are trying to help the people that need the help the worst. I know you mentioned CASA and a couple of others that I'm familiar with, and I think that's great. I really am looking for the various support networks to kind of build together and work together instead of independently, and I appreciated that very much.
Thank you for pointing that out. I will say that our program is referral only to get to our doors. You can't just show up. And so we've got referral partners throughout the community. And, not only CCA and their homeless liaison program, but we work with police, fire, EMTs. We work with CBH. We work with all the other nonprofits. And I will give you a little glimpse that because we do work across many counties, that I would say Clatsop County is the most collaborative county that we work in.
I'm glad to hear that, but I know it could be better. I just know it could be even better. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming in to talk to us today.
My pleasure.
So, Mike, how many counties are you in?
Currently, we are in 5. So we're in Clatsop, Lincoln, Tillamook, Yamhill, Multnomah, and later today we'll be announcing exploration into another county that I cannot name at this moment.
Ooh. And I must ask, are you in a vehicle?
I am. I'm in my car, and I apologize.
I kept thinking, is that a background or is it really a vehicle?
No, I'm in my car. I've got another meeting to jump into as soon as I'm done here, where then we'll go into a press conference.
Okay. Well, thank you. If no one has any other comments, you can drive away.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you again for your support. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Is that our first Zoom in a car? Okay, so next we have the North Coast Food Web, and Jessica is here, so.
I know this makes me mad.
We don't accept rides.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. Thank you. We're Zoom friends.
I drive all the way to Cannon Beach and I'll snug you.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna say yours.
And lilacs are my favorite. How did you know?
They're my favorite too.
Okay, so the format for today's presentation, thank you for coming down, is to give us a brief snapshot of your organization and then talk specifically about what your grant is for and then answer questions.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll have a couple of people on Zoom. Hey.
3 of our committee members on Zoom and then two of us in here and then some audience members.
Awesome.
I don't know who those are.
Okay, cool. Well, my name is Jess Tonti-Sook and I am the director of the North Coast Food Web. And I've been with the organization for 5 years. And we are focused on building a resilient community food system. And so the way that that looks currently is we work with a lot of local farmers and food producers, and we offer a number of programs and services to support their success. And I guess geographically, we really work across Clatsop County, and then our office is based in Astoria. And so we also know that the food system doesn't have a state line, and we work across the river in Pacific County too, with some farmers over there. And yeah, so our programs right now are, we run a weekly market, which has about 30 to 40 vendors that participate. It's all foods. So we focus on fresh, healthy foods, and they're all located within 100 miles of Astoria. And then, how is that market different than some of our other farmers markets? We have the Cannon Beach market and Sunday market and others. And really the focus is to help beginning and emerging farms get established. So we charge really low rates for them to participate in our market. We help them with business support services like getting their licensing requirements and meeting food safety guidelines and packaging guidelines. Ideally, they don't stay in our market forever. It's a little bit of an incubator. They get to, test out their products and prices and meet customers, and then they get to, sell wherever they want. So, we know our local economy is highly dependent on tourism. So hopefully they get to sell into our local restaurants, or even, more wholesale into schools and things like that. So that's one program. We also offer a commercial kitchen that we provide on a sliding scale for folks. So we prioritize, folks that are directly growing their food. And we have about 6 kitchen renters at the moment. And then, outside of our business support services, really the other thing we focus on is advocacy and community collaboration. So, we all eat every day. Food is one of those, areas of life that we can't avoid. And so we try to partner really closely with other organizations in the community so that we're not duplicating efforts, and we can make our, small staff time and resources go as far as we can. And then really the component of our organization that we're asking for funds for from the city of Cannon Beach is, yes, all these things are tied together and our farmers are scattered across the county. But really we're working at the nexus of local food and then food access, which is always complicated because, as many of you probably know, local food is generally expensive. So it's not the cheapest place to get food. And we also know that there's plenty of folks that in our county that are dependent on food access programs like using SNAP or EBT or Double Up Food Bucks or WIC, or that are on Oregon Health Plan. And so our hope is to be able to have community members that are living on low incomes be able to access local healthy food and afford it. So we try to incorporate those programs into our market and other services. And what we requested funds for last year from the city was to pilot a home delivery service. And we ran that for a little over 6 months with a partner nonprofit in Tillamook called Food Roots. And it was really successful. So the model was that folks could order from our market and we would deliver it to their home. And if it was someone that self-identified as low income, we'd set, we didn't make them like prove it, but, are you on SNAP or OHP? And then those folks, the delivery was free. So theoretically, what they could do is, use SNAP benefits, have a $20 match through the Double Up Food Books program, and they could get $40 of produce or other staple foods for $20 and have it delivered for free to their house every Friday. That sounds really fun and great. And in reality, that program was a lot more complicated to maybe not even complicated, but there's a lot of different things that we learned in the pilot phase of that program. And also we learned there was a lot of demand and need for it. And so our hope is right now it's on pause while we kind of like recalibrate. We're doing some fundraising and just like process improvement for that. And then hopefully we get to relaunch that again before the end of the year. So the funds for this are really to help us with, staff capacity, to expand that program, to continue to do more outreach to low income, to continue to remove and work on like the statewide barriers with accepting SNAP online and things like that. So I know there's a lot of like acronyms and words in there. So if there's something that doesn't make sense, I'm happy to explain. I just know we have a short amount of time.
Okay, do we have questions of Jess? Anita? No. Betty? No. Yes.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in, Jessica. So here's my first question. Why did Barb get flowers?
Do you want me to make Barb cry?
I can't quite see her that from here.
I will answer that question. We have suffered a loss on the board of North Coast Food Web. And I'm assuming that that's what the flowers are for. And let's just carry on, please.
Fair enough. I apologize if I overstepped.
No.
I was very conscious of that. I'm like, cool, I'm going to go to a grant presentation and I'm going to take one of the, but I did it anyways because I wanted to.
I'm glad you did.
And Rod would have loved it.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, tell me a little bit more about why you feel like the home delivery program was a success. When I tried to dig through the details of the information you provided, it wasn't clear to me it was a success, although I completely understand there must be a huge need. What's going to change to make it more successful? Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. Well, so I would say it was a success primarily because we were able to design it, launch it, and run it for 6 months. And we learned a lot from it. I would say if you were going to measure success on how many SNAP customers actually used the program in that period, it was not as many as we would have liked to see. But I think that we learned that it's going to take, more dedicated outreach. It's going to take us building relationships with those, community groups. And I guess I'm hopeful that with, putting more resources behind that project we'll be able to implement some of our learnings. It's very much needed. We know that one of the access issues with food is often transportation. Folks that are in more rural areas of the county have trouble getting to healthy food sources. And it's a big program. And I think that, we have a lot of work to do to make it really like widespread and successful. But I think that it would be something that would be really impactful if we had as a community.
So in a nutshell, this is a program that only provides the transportation. Your clients purchase the goods with their SNAP. Where do they purchase it, if I may ask?
Yeah, so they purchase it from our organization. We run a weekly market. And so,
okay.
So basically what they would do is order online like any other customer. And instead of having to pick it up in Astoria, they would choose a delivery option. And then whatever they ordered from those, 30 to 40 producers, we aggregate with our volunteers at our office. And then it gets packed into a van, and then it's a refrigerated van that would take it out across. And when we piloted it, we were running it from Nehalem to Seaview, Washington.
Okay. That
And just to speak just a little bit too to the yes, they're paying for it. We don't do like I guess exactly direct service. We're not a food bank, so we want to have it be again like that kind of sweet spot between supporting our local farmers, paying them what they need to succeed at their businesses, while also not making it a service that only people that have some amount of affluence can participate in.
So there is kind of a balance point there, right? I mean, between this group of farmers that are benefiting from the program, and then also the recipients of the food themselves. That makes perfect sense. What's an example of one or two of the farmers that are in the program right now?
Well, we have a number. So we have Nehalem River Ranch, which is located in Nehalem and does beef. We just added Annie's Eggs, actually, which is south of here. We have we have 46 North Flowers. We don't have their produce right now. We're just adding in Kingfisher Farms. We have Trayfin Tuna. We have Lazy Creek Eggs. We have Little Barn Farms, which does a number of different meats. So yeah, we have lots of things. Is that what you mean?
All right, and these are programs that that are trying to establish themselves, so they're pretty new.
These are mostly small farms, and I think the USDA says a beginning farmer is anyone that's been farming for less than 10 years, and I would say probably 80% of our producers fall in that category.
Okay. I think I understand much better now exactly how this is supposed to work. Anyway, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
what you do for the community. Thanks.
Thank you for the questions. Appreciate it.
Casey, any questions?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks to see you.
Nice to see you. We'll see you next week, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Anybody need a break or anything? Everyone fine? Okay.
I just want to remind committee members that before we do our next presentation, that it's very important that we get our numbers in on time. And the deadline is 5 p.m. Tuesday, May 31st, correct?
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I think.
should have that.
Well, no, I should have it memorized.
Yes.
Okay.
5 p.m. May 31st.
Yeah, so that's next Tuesday, believe it or not. So really to help out our city staff, let's make sure we get our numbers in
And
on time.
and our meeting will be June 8th.
Right, and our meeting is on a Wednesday, 8th at 9 o'clock. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have the Restoration House, and I believe Brad is here.
I am.
Brad, good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Yeah.
So we have 3 of our committee members on Zoom, and then 2 of us are here in person. And the format will be that you give us a brief introduction to your organization, a little bit about what your grant is for, and then if we have questions or comments, we will proceed with those. And I believe, are you relatively new to the Restoration House?
Since 2018.
Okay. So that's
I guess that's relatively speaking with the 22-year-old organization, that's new. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead.
Okay. First off, my name is Brad Blight. I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to speak, and want to give a strong appreciation from our organization for last year's contribution. We actually had our whole south wall of our structure completely renovated from extreme weather, and your all's money went a long ways to help accomplish that successfully. We appreciate it. This year, we have another type of issue, but I'll get into that in a minute. A word about Restoration House. We're 22 years old. It was founded in 1999. We ended up getting a HOA grant, which we were able to buy the house in the year 2000. So we own our property in downtown Seaside, free and clear, which is wonderful because it really gives us an economy of scale where we don't have any debt servicing. And we charge our gentlemen for housing and room and board, actually, $17 a day, so a little over $500 a month. And we take direct referrals from Clatsop Behavioral Health, CBH, and Clatsop Community Corrections, the probation sheriff's part of the sheriff's department. We are housing between 15 and 18 gentlemen, anywhere between short-term housing. Some of them have been there a couple of years. And our mission is that we don't put a restriction on the length of stay. We just put a restriction on behavioral. We have pretty strict house rules. But you know, what's really interesting is that we've created a really nice community where the gentleman can feel comfortable. We have a beautiful Victorian old bed and breakfast that was built around a little before 1900. It had substantial renovations done in 1937, and then some additional renovations done in the 1970s. The transformation that Restoration House has had since 2018 has been remarkable. Economically, we're a standalone organization. We have a good net profit that we can actually continue to develop the infrastructure. And we've been doing that remarkably at a fairly fast clip. We've added new furnaces. We've added a new furnace, hot water heater, new gas stoves, renovated the kitchen. Thanks to you all, we redid the south wall. We completely redone all the furniture in the rooms, added new flooring, removed old carpets. All of this has been done in the last 2 or 3 years. And the main thing with Restoration House is that we want to constantly continue to improve the quality of the stay that our residents have. We want them to feel like there's a acceptance and a feeling of hospitality as well. And for the most part, I think we've accomplished that. And I encourage you all to come visit us. We're right on North Holiday, right near downtown, and we would love to give tours. We love giving tours. So anyway, know the invitation's always extended. Our grant request is that, unfortunately, about a month and a half ago, we were housing 18 gentlemen, grown men, and the sewer's all backed up. Matter of fact, it was coming up through the showers. Unfortunately, the sewer line is a 4-inch sewer line that was put in probably around 1937. And on top of all those sewer lines are a lot of vegetation and trees. So if anybody has ever had this problem, know that the trees are incredibly smart. The plants are very intelligent, and they, like those root systems, go targeting sewer lines. And it's virtually, we had a camera go up through it, and the amount of roots that are in the sewer system is phenomenal. We chopped them all out, but that's a temporary fix. We're going to have to redo the sewer line to the main. We're going to increase the dimension of the pipe from 4 to 6 inches to allow for greater capacity. And also, we're planning on adding an addition to our house and adding 10 SRO units. So we're going to need to expand the sewer system for that as well. But anyway, we did a short-term fix for a little under $3,000 where we chopped out the roots. But I'd say we're on borrowed time. And so later on this summer, we are going to replace the sewer line. And the quotes we got would be a little under $10,000 or $9,500 to replace the line. And it's something that we critically need to have done. And we are hopefully and gratefully asking for your all's help. And I'm open to questions.
So what is a SOR unit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Single room occupancy.
Okay,
when I was
SRO.
talking about improving the quality of life, we have an old bed and breakfast. So there's 7 bedrooms. All of them have their own individual baths. But within these bedrooms, we may have up to 4 beds. We have 2 bunk beds in there. So it's almost like dormitory living. For our longer staying individuals, we want to kind of give them the dignity and the respect of having a single room occupancy. And that's why we're trying to improve the overall quality of life. A lot of our residents can't go any other place. And let me talk a little bit about that. We take people from CBH or classic behavioral health that have diagnosed mental illnesses that are treatable. And given some supportive housing, like which we provide, they can live their lives. But they still need the supportive housing structure, and they need a little caretaking from time to time. And we provide that. People that come from probation or collapse or community corrections, some of them have charges that basically prevent them or increase the barrier to housing, so they really can't go any other place. So we have people that have been in our house for years because they can't really go any other place. So this is their home, and they treat it as their home. Like I said, if you came for a tour, you'd see this beautiful bed and breakfast, Victorian, landscaped, and the guys do all the work, and they take care of the property. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. So anyway, that's what an SRO is in a long
Okay.
roundabout way.
Thank you. Other questions? Anita? Betty? Les?
Of course.
Hey, Les.
Brad, it's nice to meet you, and thank you.
Nice to meet you.
The house on that, this house is on Holiday, is what you said.
Yes, North Holiday. Yeah.
Is it on the east side, or I mean the west side of Holiday, kind of on the?
Okay, we're at 208 North Holiday.
208.
So we were right on the river. We were 2 blocks off Broadway.
Okay.
We were right downtown.
I'll make a point to come by.
Oh, please. You don't even have to give us a holler. We'll always welcome you.
Anyway, my question was, as I was reading through the grant application, it struck me as puzzling that we were talking about actually your role and the relationship to this Tad Bright abstractions.
Okay.
And I'm just curious. I haven't seen that before. And could you explain that a little bit better?
Great question. Tad Bright Abstractions is my corporation. It's a C corporation. When I was introduced to Restoration House, actually in late summer of 2017, they brought me in as a business consultant. I have an MBA in nonprofit management. And I was going to do development work for them. I started digging a little bit, trying to get outcomes, create narratives, look at financials. I couldn't find any of it. I'll be honest about it. It was a mess. Anybody that knows the Restoration House story knows that pre-2018, the place really was not run well. We did fire the executive director right at the beginning of 2018. We turned over everything to third-party financial management. So we have CPAs and we have bookkeepers handling all our financial records. Redid the board. And since then, it's been running smooth. I'm not going to dwell on that. That's another conversation we could have separately. But the Tad Bright Abstractions, when I was first hired, I was hired as a business consultant. Okay, so I would actually give invoices on a monthly basis, and they would pay the invoices. I'm proud to say that effective January 1, 2022, or this last January, I'm now a full-time employee.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, no, it's like economically it made sense because they didn't have payroll taxes. They didn't have a lot of other things. But realistically, the IRS would deem me as an employee because I'm managing personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So its time was come, put it that way. So that's what Tad Bright was. It's confusing, but economically it made sense in the early stages. It makes no sense now.
Well, I just was curious. I'm certainly not trying to.
Well, no, I appreciate your insight because that's something that a lot of people wouldn't pick up on.
Well, but I want to say that I'm not as familiar with restoration houses I want to be, but it seems to me I hear of very few places where that can house people who can't go anywhere else. And I appreciate that.
We serve the most underserved of the underserved.
That's what it sounds like. Thank you very much.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's a community. It's I don't know why the chemistry works, but when you mix people coming out of prison that may be half functional, maybe a little too half functioning, if I'm making any sense, with people that can barely function, something weird has happened or magical has happened where it's a community. People actually get along with each other.
Yeah.
It warms my heart.
Thank you. Okay, that's excuse me, that's all of our questions. Do you have any questions for us or any last comments?
I truly appreciate what you all do. You all have been really good supporters of Restoration House, and we truly appreciate it. And like I said, the invitation's open. Love to see you. And I really appreciate your time today.
Okay, thanks very much.
You bet. Take care.
You too. Okay, next we have Sea Turtles Forever, and we have Mark Ward in person, live and in person.
Great to see you.
Your chair.
Yeah, I like that. Sit down at the table option the best for me.
You have to sit down at a table. Okay, you got a table.
I guess if everybody doesn't know who I am, I'm Mark Ward and Executive Director of Sea Turtles Forever. And we run two different programs, one marine turtle research project and anti-poaching team in Central America. And we run a project here called the STF Blue Wave, which has been operating, well, we started 13 years ago. And we really had a full team on the beach 11 years ago. 2011 is where we really put down the team and started protecting these beaches. The problem with these beaches is we're in an area of extreme high density landfall of marine microplastics. And their marine microplastics are a little bit different than just plastics, that because they absorb contaminants and they become toxic to wildlife and potentially people, maybe through indirect consumption, because our wildlife, our marine food web is ingesting these materials at a high rate. And the chemicals, there are 150 different chemicals in the material. Once they're in a digestive system, then the surfactants in the digestive tract and stomach acids release the toxins into the organism's tissue. And so potential for fish and over 1 million seabirds here are dying from this material. That's a NOAA, that's an old NOAA estimate. So our beaches here, I've surveyed most of the Oregon coast down to Port Orford, and our beaches here have some of the highest densities on the Oregon coast, but we're keeping that under control. And I get calls from literally every town on the Oregon coast now. We've been working here for 11 years and we've been managing it. We've invested well over 150,000 cash. And we've also at least that in man hours, volunteer hours, because we use a lot of volunteer hours. Most of the time I'm a volunteer, but Cannon Beach, we've been protecting these beaches. And so we've been keeping the level manageable. Other beaches are becoming just buried under this microplastic. So for an example, here we're usually normally about 2,500 pounds a year that we remove from the beaches, and we focus on the parks. But COVID really was a real problem for us. Obviously, we had to shut down for one whole year. We had 316 volunteers the year before COVID hit. Then we had to shut down, and we were pulling about 2,500 pounds a year before COVID. Well, when we shut down for a year, we came back last year with a very small team because a lot of our funders were gone. Because of COVID, they weren't funding last year. And we had 35 volunteers instead of 300. And a smaller team because we had a very small budget, but we pulled over 6,100 pounds because we'd skipped a year. So that's, that gave us a real insight into what happens when we stop, the accumulation. It just, it keeps coming. It's everything from last year's there. And now we have that again. We really focus on the parks. Ecola, Les Shirley, and Well Park are some of our main focuses. Chapman Point, Haystack Rock. Haystack Rock on the north side gets heavily embedded. On the south side, not so much. But we really focus on these areas. They're really high use areas. We'll be working at Well Park. There might be 100 kids down there playing. On days that we work there, that's the most popular beach because you have the river, the ocean, everything. I'm not sure what else.
No, that was a good overview.
Okay.
Specifically, what would you use the grant request for?
For wages for our team.
Okay.
We had a very small team last year. We had 2.5 people and still pulled 6,100 pounds, 6,145. So, and we want to put at least 4 to 6 people on the beach and get it done faster and get it done more efficiently and cover some of our other overhead too. But this money would be used for wages.
Okay.
On the beach. I hire college students if I can. I really like to hire college students because we start the second week of June when they get out of school, and we're usually done by around September 15th. So it fits perfectly into these college students' schedule, and they've got a lot of energy. They're highly energized. We get, environmental students, best bet. One of our best was a math teacher, but just high energy and it just fits in. And I also like, the program supporting these college kids with a summer job. It just works. So if we can, we do that.
Other questions for Mark? Betty? No? Anita? Okay. Stacy? No. Les?
Hi, Mark. Mine's Les Sinclair. I apologize I can't be there with you today, but thanks for coming in. I knew that you had approached the city of Cannon Beach a couple of weeks ago to talk about some additional funding, or what I assume is additional funding. And that was a request for $10,000 that I'm very hopeful that actually gets done. How should we understand that alongside the community grants request? Are we double dipping in some way, or should we think about them in terms of totaling it up as what's coming from the Cannon Beach city ultimately?
And it's less, right?
Yeah.
Les, I'm really glad you asked some questions. I wanted some questions because I'm not sure. I'm really glad you asked the question because I want questions. I want to answer, things. That is what we have right now. And one of the questions that I was sent by the city was that you want to know where our other funding sources are. We, last year we had 2.5 people and we had a 15.5 budget, something like that. And so we couldn't really hire the number of people. We really need at least 4. I'd like to have 6. So our budget was for $34,000 this year. And we have managed to raise, Sea Turtles Forever, 20,000. About 20,000. So we need 14,000 to have our budget. And I normally don't ask for 10,000 from the Parks and Community Service Committee. I usually ask for about 4, something like that. And I didn't submit this request this year. We had a new person on the board who submitted the request. So I thought 10,000 was a little bit much, honestly. I'm being totally honest, for this committee. I think you guys do incredible work. I mean, incredible. All of the different things, all the different help you give in the community is amazing. And honestly, Les, being totally honest, I probably would have asked for about 4. That would have potentially fill out our budget if we got the other 10. But we can't totally count on that line item. The line item is maybe, I don't know what percentage of shot we have at that. We've been talking about it for several years that, and I've also been going, trying to get to the state because the funding for this, really trying it right, we need at least 34,000. I got a grant from Lush Cosmetics. This is to answer another question, that was on my email. I got 5,000 from Lush Cosmetics. That's they've done that. They did that before COVID too. Lush has been supporting us pretty well. The Lamb Foundation out of Lake Oswego, we got a $2,000 grant from them. Dragonfire Art Gallery has raised 4,000 for us. And they always raise 4,000 to 5,000 for us for this every year. And then local businesses, about 2,000 has come from local businesses like the motels, Bruce's Candy, for example. And these people that, they understand that we're protecting this beach and it needs to be done. And they also understand the level of work we have to put in to get this project taken care of. And then individual donors, about 5,000, where we send out newsletters asking for help. And that's where our sources have been, but we're right at this point, 14,000 short of having our budget. Now, if we got the line item, that would really, really help us immensely. I had our state representative on the beach with me last year because the state should be paying for this or at least part of it. But I'm not real well known in Salem and I haven't had a lot of political experience, but we need a little bit of political pressure. It's not just Cannon Beach. I literally had a call from, Nescoan, Tillamook, Lincoln City, Newport, Coos Bay, Bandon, Gold Beach. We're shipping some screens to Gold Beach. All those communities are affected and the state should do something. So I had Representative Weber on the beach come down and work with our team one day last year. And she was pretty much in shock because if you really come down and work with our team and see what's in the beach, then it's shocking. It's a shocking experience for anybody, but to really see what we're filtering out of there. But she said, we need to help you. The state needs to help you. And that's where I would like to go with this. But I need more, mayors, like the mayors on the Oregon coast. They're powerful. City managers like Bruce, powerful people. As far as people listening to them at the state level, at the political level, but we need to get a little bit more cohesive for the whole Oregon coast as a group to get more funds out of the state, and that's going to be one of my focuses here moving forward is to get more funds, get some funds from the state for this.
Okay. We're just about out of time, and I think Bruce wanted to say something, probably to answer some of Les's question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
You have to be brief.
Sometimes. For the record, Bruce A. Dennis, City Manager. I want to address the amount that is in the budget as far as the line item. The council did include $10,000 this year as a line item with the caveat that they want to review before the next year's budget. What is the criteria for somebody making it in the budget as a line item as opposed to somebody going through the grant process?
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yep,
Anyone have any questions? Good job on being brief. Anybody have any questions?
Done.
For Bruce? Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
I would, I'd like to.
Be brief.
Yes, I can be brief, but okay, I didn't know that. But now that I know that, that means we have a $4,000 budget shortfall. And that's about what I would have asked for if I would have submitted.
Okay.
So you take that into consideration because, I really thought that 10,000 was too much to ask from community, our parks and community service myself, honestly. I mean, just being totally honest.
Thank you. Appreciate honesty.
Okay. Thank you so much for all that you people do.
Any further questions?
I do, if we have more time.
Do it quick.
I'll do my best. What I heard when I listened in on the council meeting, Mark, and my own thinking as well is that, the Cannon Beach has been supportive of sea turtles for a while, and I'm very proud of that. But I'm puzzled why we can't get other communities to step up. And I think I heard at the council meeting some thought that maybe we could take our experiences as a city, working jointly with you, to get a message out and start seeing other communities. You're obviously getting contacted. Maybe they don't know how to move forward. Do you have, you mentioned your idea is that the state should pay for this. Other communities could be paying for this just like we are. Is there a way to get that message out, and could that become part of your plan forward?
Absolutely what I would like to do. You're nailing it of what we should be doing, because all, the Oregon coast, all these communities are affected. And now they've been buried under 10 years of this stuff because we've been just working here. Why we're just working here is because I'm a volunteer and I have a family to support. So we've never had enough of a budget so I could do this full time. And then I would try and organize a statewide response to this. But as a volunteer, I just don't have time. I'm focused on Cannon Beach. All the funds we raise, Cannon Beach, because that's what we request funds for Cannon Beach. So everything's for Cannon Beach. I still volunteer hundreds of hours just for this project. But I have three other businesses that I'm running, and volunteering for this most of the time. I've asked for a little bit of money for me this time to cover some of my time on this project. But you really hit a good note. And if the mayors or city managers, it would take a coordinated effort. And those are the groups of people that I think meet together already. I believe the mayors, city managers meet, don't they, Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah, and so we've already got a meeting that they're doing where we could bring this issue up and maybe get a little traction from the state. And my idea is that I go to these towns and I run clinics and I train people there, because I have people in different places that want to be you need an anchor person in that community, right? An anchor person that I can train, show them how we do it here. It's been working. And then, help the whole Oregon coast. If that answers your question, I've been thinking about this for years.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Darren, you ready for? Okay, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. Feels a little different being in person.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
So yeah, I mean, I could have done the Zoom option, but I'm like, no, I actually want to come and see you guys. So it's been a little while. A couple of things to talk to you about this morning. I'll start off with the South County Community Food Bank. I'm the current board president for the South County Pantry. Been the board president for about 4, 5, maybe 6 years now. It all sort of runs together after a little while. I'm here once again asking for a little bit of support for our food pantry. I was kind of, when I sat down and started looking over all of the reports from 2021, I was really pretty amazed. One of the big things I think that's been occurring in food banking, and of course, Dustin Martin talked a lot about this at our recent partner agency meeting at CCA, is that the trend nationwide is that for food pantries to see kind of a dip. It was sort of counterintuitive to what we believed would happen during the pandemic. We thought, "Ooh, man, people are just going to be flocking in," and this was kind of how food banking was going to be for a while. But it was rather counterintuitive, and I think a lot of it owes to the folks getting additional food stamp benefits and things like that, as the government was trying to support folks during the coronavirus pandemic. However, we still have been giving out tons and tons and tons of food. Normally, we try to meet a 3 to 5 day supply of emergency food. Folks that come through our pantry right now are folks who don't really have access to other benefits, right? So they're not getting probably some SNAP benefits, or if they are, they're working families that actually don't qualify for as much SNAP benefit because they actually have an income coming into their house. So they're kind of caught in the middle, make too much money to get very many benefits, but don't make enough money just to purchase a lot of food. So we are helping the folks right now that really need the support during this time. So instead of a 3 to 5 day supply, most people that come through our pantry are getting a 7 to 10 day supply of food. And we tend to focus really heavily on providing things for folks, meats and things with a little bit more protein value to them. Of course, we keep some staples for vegan needs, gluten-free. Everybody's food needs are kind of all over the map. So we're really excited about that. So as I kind of look through some of the numbers, donations actually have stayed pretty steadily and increased actually a little bit during COVID. 45,000 pounds of food donated from Costco last year, 16,000 pounds from Seaside Safeway, Natural Grocers, 13,000 pounds. Hamilton's Market over on Avenue U in Seaside, 17,126 pounds. And then Grocery Outlet, which is a newer partner of ours, 23,000 pounds of food. So altogether, we had 162,723 pounds go through our pantry last year. So the numbers may be down a little bit still. They are starting to just kind of steadily creep back up now. So we are seeing numbers kind of a little closer to the 500s now. Kind of at our peak, we were serving 800 to 900 people a month. So we're seeing that number start to slowly creep back up. So any questions I can answer on food pantry?
Anita? No? Betty? Stacy?
No.
Les?
Yeah, so Darren, thank you for coming in with us. I guess my question is a little bit more the background on what the I think it's a $4,000 request.
Yes.
Kind of what that was intended to provide. Is that more of a general operating expense type thing, or was there something specific attached to that?
Not something specific. Generally, it helps cover food. We keep a lot of freezers on site and they burn through a lot of electricity. Occasionally one will go down. My pantry coordinator, Jenny Knight, she's a really amazing individual. She has Christmas lights kind of hooked up to each one of the freezers on the same circuit. So she can tell at a glance if one of the freezers is not operating. So I hate to say it, but refrigeration is the bane of my existence. With the food pantry, I've had to replace more fridges and freezers in my tenure than I care to talk about. Some more painful than others. So, yeah.
Okay. And the 4,000, I noted that as part of your form that you mentioned, out of 450 to 500 clients, an average month, roughly 65 would be from Cannabis Beach area, kind of specifically. I think the math, and that's about 15%. Is that kind of how you ended up? 4,000 based on actual service.
Yeah. But we do get a lot of crossover, which is interesting. We have a great relationship with the with Canada Beach Pantry as well. Our pantry coordinator came down and spent some time with your folks at in Canada Beach, and she said, "Oh, I recognize you, and I recognize you, and I recognize you, and so we do share a lot of clients between the two pantries for sure, as people are trying to make ends meet. So yeah,
And we do have a very good working relationship with Seaside, and it was nice to have Jen visit us. So.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you for coming in and talking to us, Darren.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you having me. So, any other questions on that? All right.
Okay, so now you're going.
I will switch hats. Again, I'm Darren Gooch. I am the Director of Operations for the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. Our foundation, our Sunset Park and Recreation Foundation, works kind of hand in glove with the Park and Rec District, especially where it concerns offering scholarships to a lot of our patrons. I have worked with the scholarship folks for a good number of years. I think probably the last 10 or 12 years out of the almost 19 years I've been with the Park District. And it's always amazed me, the folks that come through and, are able to take part in the scholarship program, how it really benefits them being able to get access to the programs that we offer. I have a lot of seniors who aren't a fixed income and can't afford a monthly pass, but really need to get into the warm water therapy pool for their arthritis and take part in some of our classes and things in there. I had quite a number of the special needs folks that lived in the houses, group homes behind our facility, the Bob Chisholm Community Center, who take part in our art programs, primarily our ceramics class, and just kind of, just seeing how much they're able to enjoy those experiences. More lately, the big struggle, I think, for folks has been access to childcare. With a number of childcare facilities closing, preschools closing, access to childcare is a really, really huge thing in our community right now. And it's also one of the most expensive things in our community right now. My wife and I were both young parents. We had 3 kids at home. Both of us working part-time, going to school, trying to get our college degrees. Had to spend $300 a month per child for childcare, and that was expensive back then, and it's even more expensive now. So 3 children, it was I at times I look back and I go, I'm really not sure how we did that, but managed to make it through. So the real more lately, I guess the folks I see coming through for scholarships really are these struggling families that are trying to find a good, safe place for their kids to be, either during the day while they're working or after school care. So this year I'm requesting, I think it was $3,000 to help support that program. As I pointed out in my application, we have 6 Canada Beach families in 2021 that were taking part. Actually, for 22, I think we've added a couple of more. I've seen a couple of more applications come through more recently that we've added to the scholarship program. But very, very necessary thing, and I'm hoping that that's something you're willing to support again this year.
Okay, questions or comments? Betty? Anita? Stacy? Les?
Darren, thank you again for coming to talk to us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So just help me make sure I've got this correct. So the scholarship program, which I thought I understood to be primarily recreational things, could also include daycare. You don't provide the daycare though. You provide fun.
It's a youth. It's a part of our youth programs department. So we actually do the direct service. We have preschool. We have after school care for the kids in elementary school. We have summer camp programs, all-day summer camp programs. And then this fall, we are looking to expand our offerings to include infant and toddler care. So just trying to meet that gap in our community. So how this operates is our foundation raises the funds for scholarships. When folks are approved for scholarships, they're able to get up to a 50% discount on the programs that they choose to take part in with the park district. So, yeah.
I wonder, before I let you go, could you maybe touch on what the requirements are to qualify for a scholarship?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We follow the USDA guidelines for poverty. So it's a pretty standard, I guess, format for yeah, it was the best fit, I think, for us. USDA guidelines are pretty clear. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, do you have any questions or comments for us?
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So committee members, while we're waiting for Cannon Beach Academy, anybody need to take a break? I see Willow has joined us.
Ryan's supposed to come too, right?
Yeah, but Jennifer's on.
Okay.
She said Ryan.
Okay.
Yes,
so,
Ryan should be here momentarily.
Okay, so we're here with Cannon Beach Academy, and the process that we're going to go through is you're going to give us a brief overview of your program, and then very specifically what you are going to spend your grant money request on. And the committee should have received a budget in their email. Did we all get that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and here's Ryan. We'll let him connect to audio and get started. Good morning, Ryan.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Hi. Okay, so you're in Disneyland? I don't think so.
I do like to be in the happiest place. Yes, I'm just today.
Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and have you present.
Okay. All right. So, and you guys have our pack and everything, and I do want to apologize. I looked through our packet a couple of days ago and realized we didn't have a simple budget in there. And that was my oversight and my apologies. So I asked Jennifer, our business manager, to send that on to you guys. And I hope that you received that so that you have that in front of you. So for today, and for our grant, we would love to be able to fulfill 3 projects basically for the next year for our school. The first project, not that there's one placed in any order over the other, but the first project is to get a new deck area for the side of our building. What's important and vital about that is over the years, there has been a lot of rot and degradation to that area. And because of COVID, we have entries to our first and second grade classroom through that area. Because we have to have each of our classes enter from a different room to have that flow through according to COVID regulations. So we've had to use that area much more with our students every day. And it's really become apparent that there's some areas that really need to be fixed over, and it's most of that area. The other areas that is used for our garbage and recycling as well. So that area is what we use pretty much on a daily basis for that also. We also have the second project that we're asking for is to remove some trees that have rotted or are in danger of falling in our area, one in particular. And then there's a second one that's getting close to our playground as well. So we really would like to get that removed in this next year. And the third one is the continued maintenance of our gutter system and gutters to make sure that they're properly working and able to function properly. So that, in a nutshell, real short, is our presentation for what we're asking for the Cannon Beach Community Grant.
And Ryan, since we have a couple of new members on our committee, do you want to give just a brief overview of the Cannon Beach Academy?
Sure. Yeah. We began the process of getting a public charter school in, I want to say 2013, 2014, and continued to get a charter with the district. And then I believe in 2017, we were able to adopt a charter. At that point, we became a public charter school here for Seaside School District. In our very first year, I want to say we had around 24 students. And then as of this year, we currently now have 47. So our population has increased, and our focus, the reason we can become a public charter school is we have a unique educational focus. And that is using a curriculum called direct instruction. It's a phonics-based approach for reading. And it is basically a curriculum that works in small steps every day. We give the kids 85% of materials that they've gone over and reviewed, and 15% is new. So we continue to scaffold and enrich their minds, but also make sure that they maintain the level of education that they've received the day before. So that's what we've been doing since the beginning of 2017-18 school year. And, every year we get a little bigger, better, faster, stronger, and do the best we can for our kids in this community. And I do have to say, full disclosure, Barb Knopp's been on our board since day one. So she has been our board member and one of the most dedicated people that I have had a pleasure to work with. So there you go. Full disclosure. Yes.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, questions for the Academy? Anita, Eddie, Stacy?
No, not right now. Thanks.
Les?
Oh, yeah. So Ryan, thank you for visiting with us. How is it down there in Disneyland anyway?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a lovely day. The fast pass system, it's a little wonky, but we're getting used to it. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I appreciate the way you kept the crowds from behind you the whole time. I haven't seen a single person.
Yeah, my wife's on one side, my child's on the other, and they're really trying. Yeah, but thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you realizing that you didn't have the detail and having that sent in. That was going to be one of my questions, to try to understand, kind of what made up the 18,000. And I wanted to compliment you and the whole organization. My wife and I both had a chance to come by earlier in the year and spend a little bit of time as part of the Parks Committee. And I was so impressed with how well behaved and how well managed, all of the students. I just can't say enough about it. I don't expect to see that kind of organization anymore, I don't think. So thank you very much for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Does the Academy get any line item support from the city, or is it completely separate from the city of Cannon Beach?
Well, as far as the connection to Cannon Beach, I mean, they are our landlords for this facility. So, I mean, we have that relationship, but and they are extraordinarily generous with us. I mean, they understand how our budgets are and how tight we have to run, and they have been very good at accommodating that. But I'm pretty confident that is the big relationship we have with the city, is that they are our landlords. Yes.
Okay. I knew that there was a lease arrangement with the city, and and some of the things that you're looking for here are property maintenance kind of things. And is it true that just under the terms of the lease, that's the Academy's responsibility? I think I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and looking even for beyond in the next years, I've noticed that in our parking lot area, we've got some interesting concrete that's moving. And I've talked to, we have full disclosure, one of our students, their parents work for the city. And so they took a look too, and they thought that there was something was afoot as well. So that might, in the future, that could be something we could look at. But yeah, but again, though, that's something that we being the leasees, should be taken care of. So yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that in my own mind. I really don't have any other questions. And again, thank you for what the Academy does, and thank you for coming in.
I appreciate it. And guys, I would be remiss without mentioning that Jennifer, as you see on your proposal, she put this all together. She spearheaded this. And so a big thanks goes out to Jen, my business manager, for putting this all together as well. So I can focus on the education of the kids. Yep.
So Jen, do you have any questions or comments?
Not at this time, but we definitely appreciate your review and your consideration of funding the projects.
Okay, thanks very much. Back to Disneyland, Ryan.
Thank you. Oh, I love it. Yep.
Okay.
Nippity doo dah. Yep. There you go. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the harbor.
And Elaine?
Hi, I see you.
So Elaine, we have obviously 3 of our committee members on Zoom and 2 of us here in person. And what we would like you to do is just give a brief overview of your program and then specifically what your grant is, and then answer questions and comments.
The harbor, established in 1976, what started out as a group of volunteer women to respond to domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. So since that time, we've grown exponentially. We serve the whole county, regardless of income, social status, economic status, immigrant status. We serve the whole county. We serve people 24 hours a day. We offer, I think we're best known for our shelter service, but really that's a fraction of what we do for the community. We have an advocacy center that we have as many as 6 to 7 people on the phone at all times responding to calls. Many of the calls come from people who do not need to go to the shelter, or they're not ready, but they need emotional support, education, safety planning if they're not ready to leave. In rural counties like Clatsop County, sometimes it takes as many as 12 to 15 attempts to leave before they actually do that. So there's a lot of personal coaching that has to happen. The primary piece that we want people to know that it's up to the survivor to make the decision. We don't tell them what to do. We lay out their options. We can help with the restraining orders. We can help with transportation, emergency medical services. We can accompany people. Our 24-hour domestic violence and sexual assault team meets people wherever they are. We'll meet people in the emergency departments at the hospital. So they have an advocacy there to help them plan on what happens next. We're busy. I think part of the reason we are so busy is we do a lot of outreach to make sure people understand. We go to the college, we go to Tongue Point, we come down here. We also are making strides in the school districts to work on the root cause of the problem in addition to responding to incidents. We feel that the middle school and high school kids predominantly live in a culture where they need to understand and be educated on healthy relationships and not use their aggressions. that they may have in their sports, don't use it on your girlfriends and boyfriends. So we're very successfully in Astoria School District, Warrenton, Napa. We're going to be starting in Jewel and hopefully Seaside soon. We respond to Seaside if there's an incident, but we're waiting for the support and approval of the district curriculum director in order for us to be part of their health classes. We use a program called, it's a nationally recognized program called Love is Respect. It's designed for middle school and high school kids. It's an excellent program. If you want to take a look at that, it's quite interesting. We follow their curriculum. We have after school groups now in Astoria, Warrenton, as many as 15 to 25 in the Astoria School District. Kids meet with other kids to discuss problems. This week has been horrible. So it triggers a lot of kids. So we're there to support the kids. The actual budget that we have presented to the committee today is for the after hours 24-hour team. Would actually be split into 2 part-time people to continue on the 24-hour services. So it's a full-time position, but we'll actually split it into 2. There's also an extra $2,000 that we use for incidentals. We had a case recently where there was a mom with 3 children that were on vacation, actually in Canna Beach, that got left by the male abuser. So we put them in a hotel because our shelter was full. One of the kids had special dietary needs. So that kind of, that $2,000 is going to kick in to help us, get the special food that a child needs, diapers or whatever. So if you have any other questions, please let me know.
So how close are you in negotiations with the Seaside School District?
We've reached out several times. We haven't had anything very concrete. I know that Tita Marino, I think, is going to try to help us with that process. It's their curriculum. We have a curriculum that's been honored by the other school districts. I think it's just a matter of internal processes. We've done presentations at the Seaside Middle School and high school on healthy relationships, but having that formal piece, it may not happen until, August.
Okay.
So we're certainly ready to do for right. Yeah. I think the next wave of what we're doing internally, we're constantly doing analysis on what the needs of their survivors. So what we'd like to look in the next 2 to 5 years is a transitional housing center where it's a temporary piece because it takes so long for people to find housing, especially if they're a victim of sexual or domestic violence, they're instantly homeless. Right. So I think with the housing crunch, we sure like to hold people longer. We're instilling more parental support, and we're also tracking our survivors that leave the shelter or leave our services in 3 months, 6 months, and a year intervals to see if they're still housed, if they're still safe, so that we can incorporate and learn and continue to improve our service to the people that need it.
Okay. Stacy, do you have any questions?
Thanks. Les, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. Elaine, thank you for coming in. Would you tell me again your last name? I didn't catch it.
Bruce, Bruce.
Oh, that's a very famous name in Canada. I assume Bruce is there. Anyway, Anyway, thank you so much. I know that the Harbor does a lot of really, really good things for people that really need the help. I was looking at what I think was, well, in your packet, it was the 21-22 P&L, and it showed a negative $142,000 net income at the bottom. Was your organization spend that much more than what you had coming in? Or is it just a partial year and I'm not looking at it right?
It's a partial year, but we have spent more because the demands for the calls, I think like everybody else, starting in March of 2020, they doubled. So a couple of things happened at that time. We had to double our staff at the Advocacy Center to deal with the influx of calls, but we also had to move everybody to work from home at the same time because that cost an IT amount. And then we also, our hotel expenses went up by 50%. Because of the personal safety, we could only keep people 2 in the shelter instead of 4 families at a time. So therefore, we had to move people and use the local hotels, which is not cheap on the coast, especially in the summer. So it's been a lot of adjustments, a lot of quick movements, but we were able to keep up with the calls and the service. We had to act quickly.
So does that, I mean, it kind of sounds like you attribute a lot of that to some specific situations that we all had to deal with. Does that give you any grave concern for the future? Or maybe that's just something you had to manage through and times will return to normal?
It's interesting. We haven't slowed down yet in terms of the number of calls since the pandemic. But I think it's maybe a latent effect. What we found is that because of the pandemic and the economic and social isolation, that really contributed to the number of incidents. Children and people at home because of the, forced to stay economic pressures. So we're kind of watchful, but it hasn't slowed down yet. We're hoping that it will.
All right. Well, I know that you do really, really good work and I appreciate what you do. Thanks for visiting with us today.
Okay, thank you.
Betty or Anita, any questions or comments? Okay. Thanks very much. Thank you. Good work. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here for most of the day.
It's my pleasure. First time, I guess, in person. Last time was
So are you?
video.
You're Norm.
I'm Norm Brown, treasurer and fundraising chairman for the Seaside Hall.
And would your friend like to?
And my boss, or my friend, John Carter, is chairman of the board of directors for the Seaside Hall.
Okay, so you've been sitting here and kind of see the format that we're using this year. And so got 3 board.
I'm going to have a tendency to want to turn this way.
Which is fine.
I'm not sure
They're back on me all the time.
where the cameras are, but, and I don't like the back of my head. Okay, you get glare.
Yeah.
But yes, so I represent the Seaside Hall. The Seaside Hall is a nonprofit that rents a facility from the Methodist Church in Seaside and then provides space for meetings, 12-step meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. So we rent specifically time out to about 24 meetings a week. They pay us the equivalent $9 a meeting, and we pay the rent, electricity, the utilities, the garbage, everything that it costs to run the house, and so that 12-step meetings can have a space to meet. And I haven't done any particular study, but I can tell you my own opinion is that is the the largest opportunity or the most meetings conducted anywhere in the North Coast here. You'll have individual meetings in Astoria, 1 or 2 in Cannon Beach, and one, I'm not even sure if they have any in Deer Heart. But this is a central place where a lot of people come to attend meetings, and people that come in from out of town for vacations, conventions, would also avail themselves of this opportunity to attend a recovery meeting. So this year, our facility is, what is it, 80 years old, almost as old as you? I mean,
well,
but
actually, it was built in 1910.
1910. Okay, so it's a little, almost as old as you. And it, of course, is going to have issues like that some of the other organizations have mentioned. So this year we focused on the kitchen. Don't know if that has been remodeled since 1910. And unless you consider 3 layers of linoleum a remodel. So that's where we're focusing. So we've requested $1,500 to help us with that. The Seaside Hall is basically a break-even organization. So we want to price our services to a point that people can come to meetings and reap the benefits. We don't want to make a lot of profit, build up a lot of it. So we will most commonly come for assistance when we have facility issues. The previous year, we needed to pave some of the parking lot to improve the access of disabled people or as we get along in my age that just need a little bit of trouble or a little bit of stability issues. We had gravel there, but as you know, it rains a little in Seaside. And so it's nice to be able to have a solid surface to be able to get into the meetings. And who knows, next year there'll be something else on a 110-year-old building. But this year we'd like help to specifically work on the kitchen.
Okay. So do we have any questions? Betty? Okay, Anita? Stacy? Les?
Les, please. Yeah.
Les is our question.
Well, I at least want to say thank you for coming to speak to us, Norman, and I really do appreciate you. And I didn't catch the other gentleman's name. Could I have that?
John Carter.
John Carter of Mars.
John.
Perfect.
Jay.
Yeah.
John.
I don't have any questions. Your request is so clear and so and so obvious. I kind of just wanted to say thank you. I just get this feeling that you run the tightest ship and the most frugal organization of many. And I know you do good work. I don't hear anybody else through this grant process that talks about the audience that you try to serve. So I know it's an unmet need if you don't do it. I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. You know, one thing that it is not always apparent is that for the one person who attends a 12-step recovery, you could say that's our service is that one person. But that one person who specifically suffers from the disease has children, spouses, parents, employers, friends that equally suffer. This is what's known as a family disease. So if we help 10 people, we're probably helping 100 or at least improving their lives. I like that part of what we do, that we really do reach further into the community than perhaps it might be initially clear. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have the Tovana Arts Colony, and Andrew is here.
Morning.
Good morning. Good. I don't.
We're getting that yet all angle.
I'm gonna read from a little prepared remarks. I'm Andrew from the Tolavana Arts Colony. I'm the program director. Thank you, Parks Committee, for your time and volunteer service. Like what you're doing now, giving to the greater Cannon Beach community is what we, the Arts Colony, are all about. Now, forgive me if this presentation is starting to feel a little samey over the last couple of years. In the spring of 2020, we came before you in the spring of 2020 and said, we're ready to get things moving again when the pandemic is over. We shared quotes like this one. We'll need a great reset when COVID is over. We need to start planning a great social festival and ask the obvious questions. Why did we tolerate so much social division before? Why didn't we cultivate stronger bonds when we had the chance? And 2 years later, we hope and we pray that finally we reached a moment in Cannon Beach and beyond to start answering those questions. And I think every one of us can probably share ways the pandemic has changed life in Cannon Beach. It's not the same as it was. I mean, besides businesses not having enough employees or the uptake in property sales and visitors filing in, I can tell you personally, I've been struggling with the loss of opportunities to gather, whether that's in the audience of arts or just sometimes socially too. There's just, you know, there was little social pockets that don't exist anymore. And we need to re-energize and reinvigorate those senses of community, those social muscles. And I think we're making progress. We're finally beginning to mend. As the director of the Arts Colony, I see progress from a couple data points. One is that organizations are now beginning to meet at Tolavana Hall again. Folks like the Garden Club, the Coaster Theater, the Cannon Beach Arts Association, and others are starting to get together. And that was not happening for the last couple of years. And I'm hearing from people who want to teach workshops and classes again. They're reaching out. And then this other bit of evidence is more exciting to me. Last month, we hosted a fundraiser to benefit Ukrainian children called Sunflowers for Peace. It was dreamt up by our board, and we began planning modestly, figuring whatever funds we could raise from sales of donated art would be better than nothing. What happened exceeded our expectations and then some. We received donations from artists outside our network, from folks in the region we'd never met before and beyond. We even got a shipment of artwork paid for, donated in total, from all the way from New York. And the event itself was packed. Like we weren't sure if people were ready to come inside and, you know, I mean, and gather together, and it was overwhelming. Like I worked the checkout table, and I don't think the line stopped for the first hour. I mean, it was, you know, and you know, people were feeling comfortable to be inside again, and those who, you know, wanted to wear a mask, and they were cool too. So it showed that we are, I think, ready to begin gathering again, and it showed the strength as well of our community and its generosity and its hunger to be part of something bigger than itself. And that's what the Arts Colony seeks to do, is support community, something bigger than itself. Through our programming, we're hoping to do that, with nurture communities, support artists, educate and inspire, to create spaces and opportunities to gather, to share, and to grow. And your support is integral to that mission. So thank you.
Okay, do we have questions for Andrew, specific ones? Stacy?
Yeah, what is the timing for Art in the Park? I'm just looking at your application now. Is it just the whole day on the 18th of June?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
And then we have we're in the neck deep in planning for the putts, mini golf tournament and silent auction. And, you know, that'll be another, I mean, we can feel the people's, you know, excitement for it to return. I mean, it'll be the 14th year, which is a pretty cool, longstanding tradition. But again, like, you know, we're not sure that it will raise as much as it has in the past, because one, businesses are under more pressure, which, you know, the donations may not be to the same level they've been, but they've been looking good so far. And then the amount of people that are ready to get, into that silent auction and be a part of it may also be less. But, but we're doing it, and whatever we can do is great. And, maybe we'll be surprised.
Nancy and Cindy have been making the rounds, right?
Yes, they
Asking businesses
Yes.
for good items. Yeah.
Like,
Okay, Betty, do you have any questions for Andrew? Anita? Les?
Hey, Andrew, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you making the time. I always look forward to these little events. I just want to tell you that I thought the Ukraine event was amazing. Just like you described it, it was packed wall to wall.
I should.
I was just gonna say, my wife and I went what we thought was quite early. Had to wait to come in, and there was no place to be, so we made 2 rounds and bought a few things and headed out. But congratulations, that was a heck of an event.
Thank you. I should have said we raised over $5,000 that day.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Andrew, I was looking through the information you shared in the packet, and it looked like I had a little trouble understanding some of the prior year profit and losses, but if I got them correct, there have been years in the past where you've ended up having to overspend your available income, and maybe last year it was kind of even. I'm just trying to understand. How does the Arts Colony maintain some kind of a reserve? Do you have like a written reserve policy or anything like that that tells you have to have a certain amount of I don't know, reserves on hand?
No, we've definitely been trying to, over my whatever it is, 6 or 7 years now, trying to build up a rainy day fund, but there's no specific number there.
Okay.
And, it's just, it's certainly, the budgets have been so weird in the last few years. And, we project things like, my pay, which has just, been severely under because the hours, I'm just not working the hours because there's not the, the work to be done. So it's, there's, but yeah, if you got any specific.
No, I try to think about what the health of the various organizations that we've talked to today is after 2 bad years of low income and in some cases highly increased demand, and in some cases you can't really do much because you can't get together. And I'm trying to make sure that I understand the health of the organization, and that's what I've probably asked badly, but one of the simple things that I thought I understood was that if a nonprofit does have a certain amount of rainy day money, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to test that water a little bit.
I would like to, I have proposed to our board, and we just haven't come to move on it, is to do something like, not an endowment, but to invest in bonds or something like that would have some return on that capital sitting there.
Yeah, I think those kinds of things are well worth discussing, my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, I just wanted to say thank you for the Ukraine event. I'm frankly very much looking forward to the summer concert season and hope to attend every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or anything? Thank you, Andrew. Good to see you.
Yes.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then I think last on our list is the Wildlife Center, and oh, Josh, you've changed your appearance. It's hard to keep a straight face while looking at your first.
Yeah, that's our beloved Cormy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Josh, we have 2 members in person and 3 on Zoom. And you've gone through this many times. And so basically it's a brief overview of your nonprofit, specific information about your grant, and then if we have questions and comments.
Excellent. Great. Well, yeah, and I'm going to start by saying I'm working remotely today, and so I've got my menagerie of personal animals in here, and if my birds are screaming in the background, I'm so sorry. Like that one. I just adopted a 57-year-old parrot recently, and
57-year-old?
yeah, 57-year-old orange-winged Amazon. Yeah, and he's a mouthy little thing sometimes. So, but he has a right to be. He's lived a long time. Yeah, well, thank you again for having me, and I got to say I appreciate the Zoom. I was out late. My mom had a surgery in Portland, and I didn't get home till late last night, and it would have been a struggle, I think, to get into Cannon Beach this morning for a in-person meeting. But yeah, so as many of you know, and some of you may not know, I'm Josh Sramp. I'm the executive director of the Wildlife Center of the North Coast. We're a nonprofit wildlife hospital and conservation education center located just east of Astoria on Highway 202. We have been in operation 25 years this year. We take in on average about 1,000 animals per year. That number has seemed to climb the past few years. But we take in all manner of injured, orphan, and sick native wildlife. We specialize in seabirds. We're the only seabird specialty facility in all of Oregon. And we're also the only wildlife rehabilitation facility on the Oregon coast. So we have a full functioning wildlife hospital sitting on 105 acres that our organization owns outright. So we have about 20 outdoor enclosures. I don't know if some of you managed to make it out to our Birds of a Feather Spring Festival a couple weekends ago. We hosted a 2-day open house at our facility with little, events and or activities for people to participate in, including a tour of our facility, an educational program presented by our educational cormorant, which was my profile picture there for a bit, and then some tours or plant sales and merchandise sales and that sort of thing. We've been very busy the past few years. We finished finalized end of last year our 5-year, so 2022 to 20. Oh boy, I guess it was technically our 21-26 strategic plan for our organization, which is available on our website to view. I'm happy to send off a link to that too if anyone's interested. That was a huge accomplishment for us. That's been a couple of years in the making. On top of that, we did manage to establish an endowment fund with the Oregon Community Foundation for our organization, where we put away about $50,000 in an endowment and investment account to grow. And actually, I heard Les asking about the last presenter about a rainy day fund. We actually just finalized our cash reserves policy, which basically notates that we are to have a target minimum of $100,000 in reserves, but our goal is to have that account grown up to 6 months operating expense. Currently, our operating budget is $403,000 this year. Again, like I said, we've been growing. We just added a couple new staff to help meet the needs of our continued growth. So that includes clinic staff to help with the function and operations of our wildlife clinic. And then we also hired on a part-time volunteer coordinator to specifically to really target our volunteer program and help that one to grow and thrive, because we found with the COVID, of course, I'm sure that's the case with a lot of people, but we are volunteer based, just absolutely plummeted when COVID hit. And it's been a huge struggle to bring that back. And then we hired on a part-time bird curator to bring in more educational ambassadors to help grow our educational programming. And then a couple of seasonal summer camp coordinators to run our summer camps that we have. So our grant specifically is operating funds to help with our wildlife rehabilitation program. Like I said, we've been growing. We admitted over 1,000 animals last year. We're anticipating that to be the same this year, if not, avian influenza is hitting us hard this year, the country hard this year. And so we're actually having to limit our intakes right now just during this migration, but we're still anticipating seeing about 1,000 animals this year. And of course, having avian influenza, another pandemic to deal with, is causing us to have to rethink all of our protocols, biosecurity protocols, and how we have volunteers and staff entering and exiting our buildings. And it is technically a zoonotic disease, meaning it can transmit to humans. It's very rare, but So we also have to think about the health and well-being of our staff and volunteers. So it's been a big struggle for us to try to navigate the newest pandemic right now. But we are asking for $10,000 in general operating funds. These funds will help us with everything from maintaining our education, maintaining our rehabilitation enclosures on our property. Like I said, we're a 25-year-old organization. A lot of those enclosures have been there the entire time and have, ongoing maintenance to keep them functional for our patients. It's to help fund the food cost. We have a huge food cost every year. Our seabirds alone, we look at sometimes, we budget for about just around $2,000 in fish, frozen fish. But if we get a big die-off, for instance, California's seeing a huge die-off, which just means a large event of brown pelicans coming in sick. And we're kind of anticipating, since they're going to start their migration up and hitting us mid-July, we're anticipating us to see a big die-off of those. If that happens, our fish expense could bump up to easily $3,000, $3,500, just to help support the needs of those animals. That also goes to veterinary costs, medical supplies. We are full functioning, like I said, a full functioning wildlife medical, veterinary clinic. So we have a lot of medical supply costs and medications and procedures in order to adequately provide the care and nutrition and medical services that we do. These animals, when we get them in, we're unlike a veterinary clinic that most people are used to, because we don't. Obviously, the patients don't come in with the money to pay for their care. They don't normally come in with their insurance card handy. So we do this based on resources we have, and these animals have to go out, absolutely perfect back to the wild. They have to be able to function in their habitats with their predators and their conspecifics. So it's a challenge to rehabilitate wildlife, and having the adequate funds to actually do the appropriate testing and medical care that we need is vital. This grant is not specifically for our educational programming, but I did want to touch on that a bit just to kind of give you guys an idea of what educational programming we do offer. Like I said, I did just hire a new bird curator. That position's sole responsibility really is training our educational ambassadors. Our educational ambassadors right now, we just have 2, but we're hoping to grow that by 2 more by the end of this year. And our educational ambassadors are animals that are not able to be released back to the wild. And based on criteria we have, we determine whether or not they are fit to live in captivity their entire lives, based on age, the nature of the injury that they sustained originally, and quality of life considerations as well. And once we grow that program more, we'll be able to offer our educational programs more broadly to the community, bringing animals to classrooms to talk about conservation and local wildlife. Currently, our educational programming really consists of on-site programs, so people come out for presentations or tours. And then our largest educational program right now is our summer camp program. We started that up in 2019 with just 1 week of summer camps for 3rd through 5th grade. And it was hugely, we just had the 1 week for those classes, 20 students slots available, and we filled up right away. And 2020, we had to go virtual, of course, which hard to gauge how successful that was because we offered that free since it was virtual and it was off-site. But 2021, we did it in person again. We offered 2 weeks where we had, I think it was like 2nd and 3rd, and then 4th through 6th. And again, we filled up all of our slots. I had a local grade school teacher as the camp coordinator running the program, coordinating, she was developing the entire curriculum and everything. And then this year, we bumped that up based on feedback we've gotten from our post-camp surveys we sent out to the families. We've developed our program to include a 3rd week. So now we serve grades 1st through 8th in our summer camp this year. Those camps are happening the middle of July will be 2 weeks, and then 1st week of August will be our middle school camp. So I have 2 summer camp coordinators coming on part-time, seasonal. Again, one's a middle school teacher in Seaside, And then the other one is a grade school teacher in Astoria, and they're coming on this summer to run our camps and develop that curriculum. And we're super excited for that. We're already seeing a huge surge in registration for our summer camps. People are buying those out. We do have some scholarships that we offer. I've written a couple of other grants to provide scholarships. We're hoping to be able to provide 50% of the tuition free to students. So there's those that maybe wouldn't be able to otherwise attend because of financial restraints. We can offer those camps for free to them. Another change we're doing this year to that summer camp program is we're working really hard with the school district of Astoria to provide a shuttle for those 3 weeks, so that we don't, because we're about 9 miles east of town, kind of out in the sticks. And so that's some of the feedback we've gotten from parents was it's just kind of a struggle sometimes to bring the kid out, leave them for 4 hours, come back out and meet other drivers on the driveway. It's just a bit of a challenge. So we're working to eliminate that barrier and get a shuttle service that would meet in town for parents to drop their kids off. The shuttle will bring them out to us, and we do the camp that way.
Okay.
That pretty much covers it. So yeah, I guess open it up to you guys asking questions you may have.
So first off, I'd like to make a comment, Josh. I've watched you evolve as the director over the years, and you're doing a great job. Every presentation I see lots more growth. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm in let's see, this is my 7th year. So September will be 7 years as executive director. I've been at the organization for 14 years, since I was 16.
Right.
But thank you.
Amazing. So are there other comments or questions? Stacy?
Just thanks for all you do.
Oh, thank you.
Such a big job.
To see your tiny little head in the picture. So good to see you, Stacy, and thank you.
You too, Josh.
Betty?
I just want to make a comment. I thank you very much for coming and participating in the Earth Day event. It really added to our experience. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Annie, our new volunteer coordinator, sat at that booth, and she really enjoyed it. And we actually managed to garner a couple volunteers from that as well. So thank you for having us.
That's great.
Anita? Okay. Les?
Yeah, so Josh, thank you so much for coming in to visit with us. I did get to go out during your event a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago now, and met Cormy and Odin, I think, the two education animals. And I completely understand the need for some kind of transportation. That little one-way road y'all have got is tricky.
It is.
I know that Cannon Beach is a big client, a big source of work for you, and I feel very strongly that what you do is important, and we should be doing everything we can to support you. But it looked to me like that. I mean, just my impression of walking around, that that a lot of those shelters really need to be updated. I mean, and I can imagine that it's been several years at least since you've been able to do that. Is that kind of part of the plan? I think you mentioned it, but I was curious, about how do you go about renewing those things? I know I even noticed that one was being completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
And different things were going on. Is there kind of a capital campaign associated with this, or are you just trying to do it from operating budget?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the past 7 years, since our founder passed away, it's been a lot of deferred maintenance, and it's been really trying to grow our organization to actually do basically the bare minimum, which was taking these animals, rehabilitate them. And so I would say that's been the first of the 7 years, probably the first 4 years or so was mainly just really trying to get our feet under us, figure out what staffing needs we had, figure out, identify our funding needs so that we could really target those as well. And so, like, for instance, this year, we launched our first ever annual campaign to just really target bringing in that money with targeted asks of our major donors through this really complex plan that's frankly has me spinning sometimes. But yeah, so we identified in our strategic plan that we needed to really overhaul our our current enclosure situation as it is. And so we did, so like one of our enclosures, I did just reach out to Portland Audubon, got a $15,000 check from them to completely renovate it with concrete so that we can actually disinfect the enclosure, primarily because they send us every single one of their ducklings every year, which means, you know, about 300 ducklings a year just about come through to us from Portland. And we got no financial support from them for that. And so I finally told them, we're not going to take your ducklings if you can't help us. And so I should have asked for more in hindsight because it was very easy ask. But so yeah, with that enclosure is just about finished. All that's left now is to actually pour the concrete. The forms are built. We focused on the enclosure that Cormy, the education ambassador, lives in currently, was rebuilt in 2016. I wrote a grant to Pacific Power to get that guy rebuilt. And I believe you guys, that was when Barb Lynette was on our board. And she actually also wrote a grant, I think, to you guys to help with that. And so that enclosure was rebuilt for rehabilitation with concrete, but then Cormy ended up in our lives and she needed an enclosure to live in that was permitted for her. So we put her in there temporarily, but now here we are 2022 with her still living in there. So we launched our capital campaign last year to fund a new enclosure build for her. And that's the one that's up by our office building that you may have seen that's also deconstructed. That is targeted to be finished up this year. We have all the contractors laid out. We have all the funds put together for it. And then we'll have another enclosure that's our newest enclosure, you know, the one that she's currently living in, prepared for rehabilitation animals. But also we did develop a new maintenance committee of volunteers that went through and assessed all of our enclosures, put together supplies lists. And we had a huge work party probably a month and a half ago now that came out and replaced old rotting boards, you know, replaced, you know, shade cloth netting and stuff over the enclosures, things that really need to be done as far as just making those enclosures livable for our patients. But yes, our goal, when we built the budget for this year, we sat long and hard and decided what our real, like, true goals were. Like what was more important, adding staffing to meet these needs and just really beef up our staffing, make a huge leap and beef up the staffing, or cut back on that, leave it where it was and beef up our enclosures. And our organization, our board and staff determined that staffing was a primary need this year, and that moving into 2023, we're going to really identify the big, structural and maintenance needs that we need for the facility, which includes some, you know, like we need to do a big electricity overhaul, get some electricity run to all of our enclosures so we're not running, you know, draped extension cords everywhere in the wet climate. So those are all big goals for next year, is to really take a hard look at those enclosures and which ones we can completely renovate. And some of them we've designated for educational enclosures as well, that my bird curator is targeting to rebuild for educational birds to live in. But yeah, that's a great question. We do, our goals for 2023 to really take a hard look, build a budget that really prioritizes fixing up all of our enclosures.
Well, I appreciate all that you do, and quite frankly, I was so happy to hear you talking about endowment funds and you know, the kinds of things that you've got to have to survive these days. You get Les's stamp of approval from that standpoint for sure. Anyway, I just hope that we can do all we can do to help you do your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thanks, Josh. Good to see you.
You as well. You all have a good day.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Okay, so that concludes our interviews, and
we do have a good of the order agenda item. Do anybody have anything for good of the order? I would just like to advertise that on June 4th, we're going to have a Broom Buster Day sponsored by the Watershed Council. It's a Saturday. We're going to meet at Les Shirley Park at 10 a.m. and work at Les Shirley and Nacoos and get rid of the Scotch broom in those two areas. If we have a lot of people show up, it won't take us 3 hours. And so we'll have early dismissal. So come one and come all. Betty?
A question. We bring our own tools.
That would be nice. Okay. We'll have some, but gloves and cutters and things would be
Okay.
appreciated.
Okay.
Anybody else for the order?
Willow's sure getting big.
I would also like to thank Jen for stepping in and taking over lots of extra duties. And it's nice to have you here. But for your health and safety, I hope that we get a replacement soon. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed. Okay, make sure we meet our deadline, help everybody out, and thanks everyone
Thank
for
you.
attending. I think it was a good morning.
One more question. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
For the 8th, are we supposed to send in our forms for the heritage tree proposals or?
No, that's
the
not our
convention-
regular, the June 8th meeting is not a regular meeting.
It's a work
It's
session.
just for grants.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right, yeah. And then at our regular June meeting, we'll really delve into the heritage tree.
Okay.
Along with everything else that we do. Okay. Okay, so meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Barb. Thank you. And Jen, yes, thank you.
No
It's
problem.
gotta be just wearing you out.
Like Barb and I were talking, it's kind of like old times.
It is.